Welcome to the Latter-day Preparedness channel. To introduce today's topic, I want to read a quote from President Ezra Taft Benson. He said, "Store a provision of food which will last for at least a year, wherever it is legally permissible to do so. The church has not told you what foods should be stored. This decision is left up to individual members. From the standpoint of food production, storage, handling, and the Lord's counsel, wheat should have high priority. There's more salvation and security in wheat," said Orson Hyde years ago, "than in all the political schemes of the world. Water, of course, is essential. Other basics could include honey or sugar, legumes, milk products or substitutes, and salt or its equivalent." All right, so he's mainly talking about food storage there, but there was one short line. Water, of course, is essential. That is the topic of today's video. When we talk about preparedness, we talk about physical and spiritual preparedness. Water is a spiritual aspect. We're talking about living water. Christ is living water. His words are living water, whether they come from him through the scriptures or from him through prophets. The truth of his gospel and the truth of his words provide living water to the soul that can help you survive spiritual challenges and spiritual hardships. There's also physical preparedness, physical living water, which is water that is safe to sustain life. And we can either store that water or we can find it and make it clean so that we can use it to sustain life. I have about 55-gallon drums of clean water that I store in my garage, but that really is only enough for my family for about 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks if I'm lucky. Definitely not a year or more. So then to supplement that, I have a variety of water filters and water treatments, chemical treatments that help me to make sure that I have clean water. Obviously, you can also boil water to help sterilize water. So different ways of getting clean water. I'm going to talk today about water filters, purifiers, and chemical treatments. And then I also want to introduce a new product that I just learned about this last week that I think is pretty cool. I haven't used it yet. I'm excited to get my hands on one, but I'll introduce that to you. And anyway, so let's get into it with filters first. So I'm going to share my screen. So this is a company called Katadyn. Katadyn has made water filters for many decades. They're one of the best brands on the market for as far as reliable filters go. The Katadyn Hiker here at the bottom, which I have, is probably the best-selling microfilter on the market for many decades. It's best-selling because it's fairly inexpensive, about 90 bucks. It works well, it's reliable. It'll filter water down to 0.1 microns, which means it'll get all the protozoa, protozoa, bacteria, microorganisms out of the water. It will not get viruses out of the water. So when you look at these products, some will say filters and others will say purifiers. Purifiers essentially means that it'll also get viruses. Viruses are much smaller than those other things. And so it's more rare that a filter like this will actually get the viruses out. And if it does, they'll say purifiers. So anyway, this is a filter, filters to 0.1 microns. It's great for water that you're filtering that's maybe in the mountains or in a mountain stream or something like that. If you're trying to purify or filter water around where people live and people might be defecating or something like that, or livestock, you're going to want a purifier or at least some way to purify the water. My choice is to use chemical treatments for that most of the time, or boil water if that's convenient. But I like having a filter on hand. It'll get rid of sediment and it'll get rid of the most common problems like Giardia. Moving on from the pump filters like the Katadyn Hiker, where I'll show you the MSR Mini Works. That's another one of the top most popular filters. It's been around for many decades as well. The difference between these two, the Katadyn Hiker uses more of a paper style filter. The MSR uses a ceramic filter. Ceramic filters can break if you drop them, which is obviously a downside, but they are also cleanable. So if they clog up, you can clean them and then keep using them. Whereas paper filters of the hiker, once they are clogged, you just really have to replace them. These, though, if you drop this filter, you're not going to break the actual filter part. So plus is a minus to both of them. Moving on from pump filters, you get to like squeeze style filters. It's the Catadine Be Free. There's a variety of squeeze filters. Mainly the difference is the size of the bag that you're squeezing from. These are great for filtering water for maybe 1 or 2 people. Some of these bigger bags, maybe if you're filtering for a family, you could get away with that. But if you're looking to filter water for a family, I would look at these gravity filters. They pump so much faster with less work. I shouldn't say they pump, they filter water so much faster and with less work. This 10-liter Be Free Gravity, that is the one that I've chosen for my family. We've got the bag, it's 2.5-gallon bag. This filter screws into the bottom. This will clean out the water. Again, it's a filter, not a purifier. So you fill up the bag and then hang it from a tree or from something and let gravity pull the water through the filter and down. This will filter at least 1 liter a minute. So a gallon in about 4 minutes, which is pretty fast. And of course, you can scoop and fill and just hang this bag up and then filter as needed. This has really revolutionized backpacking with my family for me, so I don't have to pump so much. But also, it's a great thing to have on hand for a family for emergencies. Like I mentioned, these squeeze filters are fine for 1 or 2 people, but it would be a real challenge to try to filter enough water for a whole family off of something like that. You're going to want to have replacement filters because these will clog over time, and uh, so you're going to want to be able to put a new filter in as needed. One thing to note is that some places will have, I think it's called green algae. It's a type of algae that's in the water. You can't see it. You won't know it's there necessarily, but it will clog a filter almost immediately. I mean, you won't even get through a gallon of filtering water before your filter's completely useless. You have to replace the filter. So like the Uinta Mountains of Utah, which is a place I go with my family every once in a while, they deal with green algae quite a bit. I've stopped using filters in the Uintas. I either boil the water or I use chemical treatments now because I have ruined, I don't know, half a dozen filters trying to filter water through there. I rarely can get through a trip without the filter completely clogging. Whereas when I'm filtering water in other places, other mountain ranges like the Tetons or the Wind Rivers, Uintas, or not Uintas, the Sawtooths, I can filter water through there for years and years and years without my filter going bad. So there's a difference there. Just to be aware of. All right, so we've got squeeze filters, gravity filters. I'll show you from MSR, another brand that I really like. They've got some gravity options. They've got some pump options. They've got some squeeze options. MSR, the company that owns MSR, which is Cascade Designs, also owns Platypus. So Cascade Designs owns, so Platypus is a good brand for water bladders, filters, that sort of thing. This one right here, this quick draw system, is a squeeze filter that I like, and that's one that I actually own. I just find Platypus and MSR, again, same parent company. Their stuff is really high quality and it's really well made and designed, durable, long lasting. So I really like these. They're good brands. So this one is $55 here, and it's a good option. You can buy a gravity version of this. Yeah, so right here, the quick draw gravity system, etc. It works well. I've used this Gravity Works system, and It's fine. It works pretty well. I prefer the Katadyn option, but both options are fine. Another brand that's popular for squeeze filters is Sawyer. Now, as of like 5 years ago, Sawyer doesn't test their filters to quite the same level as MSR or Katadyn or Platypus. So I prefer those brands more. It's possible that that has changed, that Sawyer now tests their stuff to a higher level, but I don't think that's the case. Sawyer they're fairly inexpensive filters. They're real popular among like through hikers and stuff because they'll go through many filters and there's $20 to buy a new filter versus like 40 or $50 from the other companies. But they don't last as long and I don't think they're as high quality. But it's a good option for having a cheap, something cheap if you want to throw it in a 72-hour kit or whatever. Keep in the car. LifeStraw is another brand that's well known. They make some gravity filters. This is actually a purifier that gets rid of viruses as well, so that's kind of cool. They have these straws. So you suck water through the filter. You just fill the bottle up, stick it in, and suck water through the filter. Those are fine when the filter's brand new. They're not too hard to suck water through, but as the filter starts to clog, then it can get real hard to suck water through. So I don't like these. I don't suggest them. I don't like them myself. I prefer a squeeze filter or something that's just less work to get water through. And then you've got the original LifeStraw, which I won't show you here, but they do offer a gravity version of their stuff as well. So again, my preference is Katadyn or Platypus. Katadyn for the gravity filters, but that's just what I've used most. Then we will get into I'm going to go to here. So this is a purifier, the MSR Guardian. It'll actually get out viruses. This was designed for the military and it was designed to handle the worst, nastiest water possible and to just continue to work over and over and over without failing. It's a really cool filter. It's not cheap, obviously, but it's a great option. This is the filter. This is the purifier that my father-in-law has in his emergency stuff. I don't because it's a little out of my budget, but it's a really good filter. It's still a pump though. Pumps take a lot of work. You can get a gravity version. Essentially the same filter that's in the pump is in this gravity option. So that would probably be the way that I would go. It'll get rid of viruses, all of that stuff, and you don't have to pump. One thing to note on the gravity filters or purifiers is that you have to scoop water into the bag. So these work great if you've got flowing water or a deep pool to pull from, but if you've got a shallow puddle or something, it's kind of hard to fill these. In that situation, you can pump water out of the puddle with one of these pump filters a little easier than you can scoop water with the others. So that's an advantage, I guess. But to me, it's not really worth it because pumping these things every time you need water, and if you're having to pump a few gallons a day for your family, these are exhausting. And this is like no big deal, super easy. So that's my preference. Back to the screen here. Okay, so the Guardian Purifier pump gravity thing. So those are good options. Now let's talk chemicals. So this company here, Aquatabs, distributed by Cascade Designs, they are awesome. This is what I keep in my emergency stuff. Show you here. So I just keep a bunch of these in my first aid kit, my little first aid kit. What's cool about these, it's like $20 for a package, essentially enough to purify about 30 gallons. This is 10 tablets, one tablet will do half a gallon of water, will purify half a gallon. So that'll do 5 gallons of water, which is pretty awesome. So I use the filter as my first choice, and if the water seems suspect to me, I'll throw in one of these just to make sure. If the water's clear, but I'm not sure if it's safe, I will just use this. If the water's a bit murky, then I will use a filter to get rid of the sediment and other chunky stuff that's not real fun to drink. And then one of these to purify it. And if I'm in the mountains or I'm away from people, I'll just use a filter and assume that there probably aren't viruses in the water. But some sort of chemical treatment is a cheap way to handle viruses in an emergency. Another way is, of course, to boil your water. But boiling water every single time you need water is time consuming and you need a lot of fuel for that. So it's not, in my suggestion would be that that wouldn't be your only way of purifying water. So Aquatabs is one brand that's really good. The other brand, which is owned by Catadine, is MicroPure. So these are essentially the same type of thing, little chlorine tablets that will purify the water. These are good. I've used them. They work great. Aquatabs, MicroPure, very similar. I probably would say, in my experience, the Aquatabs taste a touch better, but neither of them are bad. It just, you get a slight chlorine pool type smell as you drink it, but it's not too horrible. You can always add like a little bit of drink powder or a couple of drops of flavoring or whatever to help mask the chlorine scent. So those are my suggestions for chemical treatments. There's some other chemical treatments that are good out there, but these are my favorite. And then I'll show you SteriPen. SteriPen is cool. They're a UV purifying system. So you stick these in, UV light turns on, you stick it in the water, you stir it around for a few minutes, and it'll kill everything in the water. Now, the upside to that is that it purifies. The downside to that is it doesn't filter. So if you have clear water, it's great, but if you have murky water, these don't work very well because the UV light doesn't get through the murk as well. And it also doesn't take the junk out of the water, so you have to drink murky water even if it's safe to drink. So these are cool to have. They also run off of batteries. They're rechargeable, but you have to have a way to recharge them once they run out. And so that's one downside to them. But they're pretty cool. It's pretty nice to know you can just stir that light around in the water for a few minutes and have completely safe to drink water. As you put these in and you stir them around, it'll actually indicate to you when the water is safe to drink. So those are a cool option. They're not cheap. They're not too expensive, actually, but I think they range from anywhere from about $60 or $70 up to $150 to $200, depending on the model. I haven't shopped for these in a while, so I'm guessing on the price. I could be wrong. Pricing has changed since inflation's been going up. What am I forgetting? I think the last thing I want to show you is these Puri bags. This is something that I just learned about a week or two ago, and they're super cool. I'm really excited about them. I haven't used them yet, but I want to get my hands on some so I can test them out. So let me show you this video here about how this works.
All right, so I got a bunch of bird water in there. So what I've got here is a Puri bag and some P&G purifier of water packets. I'm gonna open that up and put that inside the bag with the nasty water. So now we want to fold this and seal it with this. Slosh it around, mix it in real good for 5 minutes. Then after 5 minutes, you need to hang it up for 30 minutes. Wow. All right, so check this out. See how it's already clumping everything up? I got a bad feeling I got too much dirt in there. I want to add more product and see just how much more dirt is in here. Obviously, this is an extremely filthy freaking mud hole. Look at how much more it cleaned out with the second treatment there. Amazing product.
All right, so that I thought is pretty cool. Um, Using just one of those bags and letting gravity pull the sediment out would be better than nothing. But as I understand it from reading about that product, that chemical treatment is not only a purifier, like a chlorine type purifier, but it's also has a coagulant, something or other in there that helps to clump up the junk inside and get it to float to the bottom to help clear up that water. So, what a great option for an emergency when you may not have clear water to pull from. You can still get clear and clean, safe to drink water with that product. So, that's pretty awesome. Anyway, there are probably a bunch of other products on the market that I've missed. I haven't tried to go over every option, but I've gone over the ones that I like to use and that I have a lot of experience with and that I prefer. So, to recap, a squeeze filter, great for 1 to 2 people, easier to drink from than the straws that you suck through, and pretty lightweight and small. They only filter, they don't purify. So, they won't get rid of viruses, but they'll get rid of the other stuff. Pump filter, great for more people, but they're a lot of work. They will filter, but they don't purify. At least this one doesn't. Gravity, a gravity filter. This is great for families and bigger groups. Also great, for everything. When there's a big deep puddle or pool or running water to pull from. Not great for getting water out of shallow pools. This is my choice for my family, in addition to some purifying tablets. That's the next point. Purifying tablets are good to have on hand. For water that's coming out from uh, dirty water that's around where people live or livestock lives. And then that Puri bag is a good option that I'm going to add to my 72-hour kit and to my emergency kit, because I think that that fills a niche that some of these others don't so much. If you tried to filter water, that nasty water, through a filter, you'd clog the filter very quickly. But that Puri bag handles it pretty well. What did I miss? Well, tell me what I missed in the comments. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment about other topics that you'd like me to talk about, or what I missed on this video that you think is important information to add. Leave that in the comments. And I think that's it for today. I'll see you on the next episode.